Hey everyone, it's Michael, GoosebumpsFan. I hope you're doing well today. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Of course, today is actually Memorial Day itself. Thank you to all the veterans out there who have served, but mainly to those, of course, this holiday is about those who have died in the middle of service. Thank you to the families out there who have lost folks, who went out to serve our country. The USA is the best country in the whole planet. Stand by it. I'm super thankful for this country, as problematic as it can be sometimes. Still super thankful for those families out there who also made an ultimate sacrifice with this situation too. But to the soldiers out there, thank you for all that you've done, and for those that you've lost around you, in the middle of service. So anyway, today is a book review for a Goosebumps Series 2000 book. Of course, I haven't reviewed a Goosebumps Series 2000 book in a while. We're also in the middle of a Werewolf review-a-thon. Me and two other Goosebumps YouTubers out there, one being named Goosebumps Completionist, and he is a really cool guy. Check him out. His link will be in the description down below. We also have Monster Blood, aka Austin. And Austin, of course, his link for his channel will also be down in the description down below. I bit my tongue last night, so if I kind of slur and whatever throughout this video, you'll know why. I also had to move back in this room because my wife is cooking in the other room, where our apartment has like the living room and the den, or the living room and the kitchen being like the same room basically. So I want to get out of her hair. She didn't need any more help. So anyway, this is a Werewolf review-a-thon book. We're drawing closer and closer to the end of this. We only have a few more books left as far as I remember. This is Goosebumps Series 2000. I don't know the number because the thrift books sticker is over top of the actual number on the spine. The Werewolf in the Living Room. Yeah, that's a pretty cool cover. I like that cover. Everybody kept telling me, first and foremost, that this was so similar to the Tales to Give You Goosebumps short story collection story called Pumpkin Juice. Now, I like Pumpkin Juice a lot. I think it's a pretty good book. Not the actual pumpkin juice, like the drink, no. But I do love pumpkin. Anyway, Werewolf in the Living Room. I have a weird, wish-washy relationship with this book. I'll tell you first and foremost, I like the book. Of course, it carries on the tradition of being a Series 2000 book about being a lot darker. It is a darker read. It's a more odd atmosphere, creepy atmosphere, eerie atmosphere to it. It has like a small-scale adventure type of feel to it, and I like all of that. I think it works. It's kind of divided up into a part 1 and a part 2. There's not many Goosebumps books out there that do that, but this is one of the first ones I've ever seen do that. This is not your traditional werewolf story. It's not one of the most intriguing or good ones from Goosebumps compared to Werewolf in Fever Swamp, which is like my number 2 in my favorites of those. My number 1 favorite being Werewolf Skin. It's not close to how good those were, and I think this is... I bit my tongue again. It's not as good as, like, the werewolf stories from the classic series, but at the same time, it is darker. There is a little bit of gore in here. Fever Swamp had quite a bit of gore in it as well. Werewolf Skin, kind of half and half on that. But, yeah, it's okay. It's an okay story. It kind of starts out in a weird place. I have a lot of nitpicks about this that are kind of not nitpicks because of how short this is. This is about 115 pages long or so, 120, somewhere in there. This has some of the shortest chapters I've ever seen in Goosebumps. There's a lot of chapters, but a lot of short ones to be 115 or so pages long. There's also a lot of dream sequences in here, in the sense of, like, waking up from a nightmare sequence, and it's a dream. Over and over and over again, constantly, in the first 30 or so pages of this book. It's just over and over and over again with nightmare scenes, or dream sequences, or whatever. And that gets old real fast. After the second or third one, I'm like, why are we doing this so many times? There's probably about 5 or 6, honestly, and it's too much. To get into the actual story, you start off as our main character. What is his name? Is it Alex? I think. I don't know what the main character kid's name is. I usually don't remember these names anyway, unless it's one that I have a really close interest and relationship in, like the kids from Night of the Living Dummy 3 or Haunted Mask kids. Usually I remember their names. A story like this, kind of a one-off. Not really. Not always. Now, our main character kid, his dad is a werewolf hunter, but he's also the sheriff of their town. I don't think we've ever had a Goosebumps book where the dad or the parent or whatever has been a sheriff. That's kind of interesting, but he's also a hunter of werewolves. He's never caught one, never really encountered one, but he knows he believes that he knows they exist, so he's trying to hunt for them. He takes his son, our main character, out to a place called Broadvia, which is outside of the U.S., and as they're walking around out in the woods and stuff, they may or may not be encountering this werewolf possibly out there. Our main character actually gets bitten. They find at one point a very small tiny man. I think he was a small man. Anyway, he was a small man, bald, kind of helpless and defenseless, but he's also very kind. And they capture him, the dad does at least, and he says, this is a werewolf. I saw the tracks lead up to his shack out in the woods. I'm confident this is a werewolf. And the man is very nice. His name is Ben. And they take him back on a ship in a cage, basically. They get him back to their home in their stay in the U.S. And they put him in a cage inside of the living room. So, werewolf in the living room. Yes, the cover's goofy. The cover is a werewolf holding a remote, pointing, I'm assuming, towards a TV. Yeah, I understand. It's a goofy cover. The werewolf looks awesome on the cover. I don't know why this werewolf has, like, the red disease on his head. You know? I don't know why that's a thing, because it's not like that in the book, to my knowledge. Anywhere in the book that I could think of. It's not as close to pumpkin juice as people make it out to be. I don't know why people keep saying that all the time. I don't see it being more like that, honestly. I don't get where the comparison even is, frankly. And again, I like Pumpkin Juice as a short story more than I like this as an actual book. Yeah, this book is dark. It has really a lack of humor. If I had to be honest, and I said this, and I think some of my friends in the Discord for Goosebumps fans that I talk about here on the channel a lot of my big commenters and stuff are in that particular Discord. We all kind of talked about this a couple of times the last couple of days. And I hit on the fact that I still don't think R.L. Stine wrote this book. I still don't think he did. It doesn't feel like him. Yeah, Series 2000 feels darker than the old classic series or the Give Yourself Goosebumps books or any of the other stuff, the Tales to Give You Goosebumps books and so on and so on. Yeah, it feels darker, but even the darker ones like Return to Horrorland, they feel like Stine wrote them, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but they do. This does not. Not to me. I don't think Stine wrote this book. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. It doesn't feel like Stine. It doesn't even feel like a person trying to be like Stine. The formatting of the story doesn't feel like Stine. It feels like a first-time or second-time author, honestly. It's not badly written. It's a kid's middle grade book. It's a horror book for scary book for kids. I don't know, something like that. Not scary kids. It's not something that I think is... It's not a bad book. I want to make that clear. I don't think it's a bad book at all. I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. I will say that the book is not very eventful, and the constant nightmare dream sequence wake-up things are obnoxious. I can't stand that. You have chapters that are maybe a page and a half long. I've never seen that in a Goosebumps book. I've seen at least 2 pages, at the least. But you'll have pages that are a page and a half long, and then it's done. I mean, it's very short in that way. I'm not sure entirely how complete I think this book is. I think it needs a sequel. I think it needs either a sequel or it needs to be a longer book and be like 150, 160 pages long. Because the ending doesn't work for me. I think the ending is... I think it's fine, I think it's suitable, but it ain't done. You know what I mean? It feels like it should have been a part 1 to a part 2. And I just think it doesn't feel complete. It doesn't feel like it's a full-fledged real book. But it also feels like the writer here just didn't have enough to do to really expand this book more. There's the interest to me was whether our main character, when he got bitten by the werewolf out in Broadview, whether he would turn into a werewolf or not. That's part of the story as well, of whether that happens or not. There's a lot of interesting things in here that didn't go the way I thought they would go. You know, like, I don't know. You know, when they get back to their state, there's werewolf attacks that start to happen. And one of the reasons they're trying to prove that Ben, the guy they took captive, is an actual werewolf, which, by the way, all that stuff is illegal. How's a sheriff getting away with that? They make the point of, oh, well, he's the sheriff, he can do what he wants. Even if it's wrong, he gets away with it, but it's still odd. They're trying to prove the point to the neighbors and the townsfolk that Ben is an actual werewolf because a full moon's coming through for a couple of days. And that's their whole point of keeping him captive, in their living room, in their very tiny house. This entire book doesn't work as a whole piece of art. It doesn't. It has some issues, it needs to be fixed, it needs to be corrected. There's some things that should have been caught in editing that I think should have changed. It doesn't feel complete, and I still think that's the biggest thing I have to gripe about this book. The constant dream sequences are an issue, but the fact that it feels not complete is an issue. I think it's off-putting. It made me feel just like... I read this book in one setting, mind you. I went to my grandfather's house. There was a lot of stuff I talked about asking for prayers the other night on my community post that I posted. He's okay, by the way. He has a fractured T12, which is a spinal thing. It could have been a lot worse to be at his age. He could have gotten hurt a whole lot where he fell off a ladder. And on Friday night, my wife and I stayed at my grandfather and my mom's house to just be there for them, to try to help out. We tried to clean up a little bit. My wife made some wonderful meals for them to have ready in the freezer for whenever they need them. By the way, my wife is the best. She's the best wife you could ever ask for. I'm so thankful for you, Rachel, if you happen to watch this. But while we were there on Friday night, I read this whole book in like a couple hours. And that's pretty fast for me. Just here lately where I've been taking it slower and telling you guys how I wanted to take it kind of slow my whole couple of weeks. I wanted to slow down, and I went ahead and I just burned through this in one couple hour setting, and it was a fun read. I want you to know that. It was a fun read. It's not what it should have been. It was just not what it should have been. And I don't know, I'm kind of disappointed by the book. Werewolf in the Living Room, it has a really great cover. I really like the darker tone to this. Whether Stein wrote it or not, I like that darker tone to it. It's just not what it should have been. And I'm really saddened by that. I'm really kind of put off by that. I wanted more out of this book, and I think most people that read it say the same thing. From what I can tell from the Discord, a lot of people, even though people who like it more than I like it, said the same thing. I want more. I like werewolf stories when I get them, especially from Stein. Stein does a good job so far with werewolf stories. This just is not... This feels like a first or second draft, almost. You know, it's not cleaned up the way it should be. I don't know why. It's just not. It's not. I don't know. Is there something else I'm missing here that I'm not hitting on? I feel like there's a lot more missing than I think there is, that I realize there is. But overall, Series 2000 is not the best series out there. It's the darkest. That's one of the reasons I love Series 2000. But you know, it doesn't always hit where it needs to. It doesn't land where it needs to. Like the end of Return to Horrorland. That's a great example of a book that was kind of fishing for a sequel, but they didn't go that route. So it is what it is. What did you guys think about Goosebumps Series 2000, The Werewolf in the Living Room? Did you love this? Did you hate it? Put your thoughts and comments down below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this book. I don't know how I feel entirely about this book. I enjoyed it. It's got some big problems, though. Some big, big problems. If I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, I would give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I wanted to give it a 4, but my complaints are so throughout the whole book. They're not like a book that I love the whole book and then the ending sucks. It's not that kind of situation. It's just... the book overall has problems throughout its entirety. Throughout the entirety of the book. Especially with all the dream wake-up things. I hate that. I hate when books do that, and Goosebumps sometimes utilizes that too much to its, you know, demeanor. Kind of fails it. It is what it is. When it comes to Werewolf in the Living Room, like I said, 3 out of 5 stars from me. I don't love it. I don't hate it by any means. I think it's a really solid read. It's just very imbalanced. It's not... It doesn't flow right. The flow is wrong. It is off here and wrong. The part 1, part 2 thing is weird too. I don't know why we're doing that, but we are, for whatever reason. Anyway, what are your thoughts on the book? Put it down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I need to fix the camera angle here. It's too high up. My head is like got a whole like a foot above it, you know. Feels weird. I feel like I have to yell more. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. God bless you, and goodbye.